Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are undertaking, I think, a really fascinating exploration into a country that, well, it often gets overlooked, doesn't it? Despite being one of the wealthiest on the planet, the Sultanate of Brunei Darussalam.
Indeed. We're
Yeah.
diving deep into this tiny sliver on the island of Borneo, a nation officially known by quite an evocative title, the Abode of Peace. And our sources, well, they painted a picture of these extraordinary contrasts that, frankly, demand a closer look.
Right, that's the core paradox we really need to dissect here. You've got this nation immensely wealthy from its vast oil and gas reserves. I mean, one of the highest GDPs per capita globally.
Yeah, it's way up there.
Yet its capital city, Bandar Seri Begawan, let's just call it BSB to make it easier, has this reputation worldwide for being incredibly tranquil, profoundly orderly, and maybe a bit unfairly sometimes described as sleepy.
Sleepy. That forces the ultimate question for, the curious traveler, doesn't it? Is this intensely peaceful nation actually a hidden cultural gem? Is it that perfect, safe, kind of off-the-beaten-path stopover for someone who's looking for tranquility, maybe some unique architecture?
Or does that official label, peaceful and orderly, just translate to, well, boring for people who are more used to the, let's say, energetic chaos of other big Southeast Asian hubs?
Exactly. Is it peaceful or just plain?
And that's precisely our mission for this deep dive. We've synthesized sources looking at everything from the just stunning architectural opulence of the mosques
Incredible
to
struggle.
the real grassroots social scene you find at the Gadong night market, and then swinging completely the other way to the raw, untamed nature of Ulu Temburong National Park.
A real spectrum of experiences.
So we're pulling this all together for the traveler who's maybe looking for a genuine cultural palate cleanser, like hitting the pause button on that high-speed global travel whirlwind.
And our deep dive really focuses on three critical vectors for that kind of traveler. First, the safety and the logistical reality on the ground. Second, the depth of cultural immersion that's actually available. And third, ultimately, whether the unique logistical quirks and social realities of Brunei actually warrant making the journey.
Okay, so let's jump right into that logistical reality, starting with actually the surprising ease of just getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. You might think small, sultanate, probably tricky connections.
Right. Multiple hops, maybe.
But the sources really highlighted the remarkable connectivity of Royal Brunei Airlines. They've got direct routes from major hubs, London, Melbourne, Dubai, plus a really comprehensive network across Asia.
That's quite impressive for a national carrier of a smaller nation.
And what's fascinating, it seems quite deliberate. The sources suggest Brunei is strategically leveraging its position, as a safe, central stopover hub, think Europe, Middle East, down to Australasia.
Positioning itself as a peaceful intermission in a long journey. Makes sense.
Exactly, and that sense of peace.
Yeah.
It hits you the moment you arrive. Landing at BSB Airport, it just sets the tone instantly. It's modern, yes, immaculate, definitely, but perhaps most jarringly, especially if you're an experienced Southeast Asian traveler.
It's quiet.
Silent. It's almost unnervingly quiet. It's the absolute anti-Bangkok experience, isn't it?
Totally. You think about stepping off a plane in, say, Manila or Ho Chi Minh City.
Oh, yeah. Instant sensory overload.
The crush of people, the noise, the immediate scramble for a taxi, just chaos. Brunei, it's the complete opposite. Immigration is swift, professional, friendly even. It feels almost choreographed in its efficiency.
It does. And that feeling of orderliness, it just extends right out to the local transport. We heard about using the rideshare app, Dart, which is Brunei's version of Uber or Grab.
Right. Dart, easy to use.
Apparently very straightforward.
Yeah.
And the journey into the city itself, it reveals these pristine roads, wide avenues, and basically zero traffic snarls,
Yeah.
which, again, is quite a contrast.
So the initial impression is what we started calling serene predictability. Everything just works, exactly as you'd expect. And the local people are consistently described as, well, polite, maybe a little reserved, but incredibly kind.
And it feels incredibly safe. That came through loud and clear from the sources, which is a major non-negotiable draw for a lot of travelers, right? Especially families, maybe solo travelers, or just anyone a bit nervous about venturing out.
Yeah, that gentle, comfortable introduction, it's a massive logistical pro right off the bat. But, okay, to really get the rhythm of the place, we have to talk about the defining cultural reality, the sort of elephant in the room that shapes almost everything else.
We have to. The fact that Brunei is unequivocally a dry country.
Needs to be stated clearly. Zero alcohol is sold. Anywhere.
Not in hotels, not in those fancy resorts, restaurants, supermarkets, nowhere. You simply cannot buy it once you're there.
This is such a crucial detail because it dictates the entire social landscape, doesn't it?
Completely. But, and this is where the logistics get really important for visitors, there is a legal and very clear exception specifically for non-Muslim visitors.
Okay, what's the exception?
You are allowed to bring in a personal allowance of alcohol, but, and this is critical, it's for strictly private consumption.
Ah, okay. And the sources were specific about the limits, weren't they? What you can actually bring in.
Very specific. You have to declare it when you arrive at customs. The allowance is 2 liters of spirits or wine plus 12 cans of beer. That's per person.
So if you enjoy a drink in the evening, you absolutely must bring it with you from wherever you're coming from and declare it.
Exactly. And critically, cultural respect here is paramount. The consumption must be strictly private,
Meaning?
meaning drinking has to happen only within your hotel room or your private accommodation. You absolutely cannot consume alcohol in public spaces, not sitting on a hotel patio, not in the lobby bar area because there won't be one serving alcohol, and definitely not in restaurants.
So the absence of a conventional bar scene isn't just like an inconvenience you work around.
Yeah.
It's a defining cultural characteristic.
It shapes everything. And you asked earlier, what does that absence mean sociologically? If that public social energy isn't channeled into bars or, late night clubs, where does it actually go?
Yeah. Did the sources give any indication of the cultural alternatives? What replaces those kinds of public gathering places?
They absolutely did. And the energy shifts, quite dramatically, actually. Instead of a vibrant nightlife district, the focus moves intensely onto basically 2 areas, family and food.
Family and food. Okay.
The sources noted that locals socialize through, large family gatherings, getting together for meals. Organized sports are quite popular. And interestingly, through the proliferation of these massive, super clean, family-friendly shopping malls, they almost act as community hubs in the evenings and weekends.
Malls as community hubs.
Yeah.
Right.
So the energy is much more decentralized, it's non-raucous, much quieter. And this is absolutely essential for you as a traveler to understand. You're essentially treating bars for cafes and food markets. It requires a complete shift in expectation about evening activities.
That's a really powerful insight. So if the social center of gravity isn't in public drinking spaces, where do travelers find their own restful space? Let's look at the accommodation options. They seem to range from the, well, sublime to the purely functional.
They really do. I mean, if you're looking for the absolute peak of opulence, maybe a vacation that's really designed around the hotel experience itself, then you have to look at the Empire Brunei.
It's legendary, isn't it? The descriptions make it sound less like a hotel and more like a small gilded city.
That's not far off. It's not just a hotel. It's this sprawling palatial resort complex. It was originally built for royal guests, state visitors.
Wow.
We're talking vast multi-story marble atriums, crystal chandeliers everywhere, its own private 167-seat cinema.
A cinema.
Yep, its own bowling alley too. And the pool area. It's so enormous it feels less like a pool and more like a private ocean lagoon that's been carved right out of the coastline.
That sounds incredible.
The sources even suggested that travelers who aren't staying there should consider visiting just for the fancy afternoon tea experience. Apparently, it's worth it just to witness the sheer scale and, frankly, the extravagance of the place.
Okay, but practically speaking, for most visitors.
Practically speaking, the Empire is located a bit outside the city center, so it leans more towards being a destination resort stay. If you want to easily walk to the main mosques, access the water village, see the key sites of BSB without relying on DART for every single trip, then staying central is probably more necessary.
Makes sense. So what are the good central options?
The sources recommended central, sort of business class hotels for sheer practicality. Places like the Radisson Brunei Jerusalem came up excellent location, good level of comfort, and critically, a really superb pool area. They function as solid, reliable bases for exploring BSP.
And what about budget options? Is there a big backpacker scene?
Not really. The budget scene is described as clean and functional, but you definitely won't find that bustling social backpacker hostel vibe that you get in, say, Thailand or Vietnam. Places like the Badaya Hotel or the Jubilee Hotel were mentioned as reliable for clean rooms and decent locations, but they're not really social hubs in themselves.
Okay, so regardless of your budget, luxury, mid-range, or budget, we need to hammer home that single most important piece of practical advice about accommodation, right?
Absolutely. Choose a hotel with a good pool.
It came up again and again.
The sources absolutely stress this. The heat And especially the humidity in Brunei, it's intense. It's really draining. Having a spot where you can genuinely retreat, cool down properly in the afternoons, it's not a luxury. It's essential for managing your energy and actually enjoying your trip.
It's the key to pacing your whole day, isn't it? Okay, so we've covered where to sleep, the logistics of the dry country thing. Now let's dive into where that concentrated social energy really resides. The gastronomic heart of Brunei.
Yes. Given that lack of conventional nightlife we talked about, the premise holds true. The primary way to access and experience Brunei's social and cultural life is through its food scene.
And by all accounts, it punches far above its weight for a country of its size.
It really seems to. The absolute epicenter, the place you absolutely cannot miss for this cultural immersion, is the Gadong Night Market.
A non-negotiable must-do, apparently.
Totally. It's this huge covered market space.
Yeah.
Pretty quiet during the day, but every single evening, it just transforms into this explosion of heat, light, sound, and aroma.
The sensory details sounded amazing. The air thick and sweet with wood smoke.
Primarily from literally hundreds of charcoal grills all operating at the same time. It must smell incredible.
And the affordability, often just 1 or 2 Brunei dollars per item, which is like less than a US dollar or two.
Yeah.
Meaning you can basically feast like royalty for under $10.
Unbelievable value. You mentioned the obvious great grilled stuff, chicken skewers, beef sauté, giant prawns, whole grilled fish. They all sound delicious.
Standard Southeast Asian market fare, but done well.
Right. But the specific local delicacies, that's where the real culinary adventure seems to lie. The first one that jumped out was hati buya.
Ah, yes, hati buya. Grilled beef lung, marinated in these rich spices. Now, that might sound, let's say, intimidating to the uninitiated palate.
A little bit, yeah. But the sources really emphasize the intense, smoky flavor, and particularly the unique texture. It was described as chewy, savory, and actually not off-putting at all. Apparently, it's a testament to the local spice blend they use. Worth trying if you're adventurous.
Definitely one for the foodies. And then, if you somehow still have room after all the skewers and the lung,
Which seems unlikely, but okay.
you absolutely have to track down kummalaya. This sounds like the market's staple dessert.
It does. Described as this thick, sort of spongy pancake. Gets folded over while it's hot and then stuffed, absolutely packed with a mix of crushed peanuts, sugar, and generous drizzles of condensed milk.
Oh, wow. Sticky, sweet, nutty. Sounds like the perfect offset to all that savory barbecue smoke.
Exactly. That's satisfying sweetness. But okay, moving beyond the market snacks, which sound amazing, every visitor really needs to engage with the national dish, embouillat.
Right. And this one seems less about the inherent flavor of the main component and much more about the cultural ritual and the texture.
That's the perfect way to frame it. Embouillat itself is this starchy, almost glue-like substance, completely bland on its own. It's derived from the interior trunk of the sago palm tree.
And making it sounds like quite a process.
It is. The sources mention the sago pith has to be painstakingly ground down, then washed repeatedly to extract the pure starch. That starch is then mixed with boiling water, and it transforms into this viscous, translucent, kind of wobbly substance.
And you can't just eat it with a regular fork or spoon. Right, the method is key.
No, the method defines the whole experience. You use these special two-pronged bamboo forks. They're called chandas.
Sundags, okay.
You dip the chanda into the embouillat goo, twirl it around quickly to gather up this, well, massive gelatinous blob.
Sounds graceful.
Probably takes practice. And then you quickly transfer that blob, not to your mouth directly, but into the dipping sauces.
Because the embouillat itself is bland. The flavor comes entirely from the sauces.
Entirely. The dipping sauces are everything. The sources highlighted the absolute importance of the main sour dip, which is made with a local fruit called binjai. Apparently, it's highly acidic, gives this really sharp flavor that cuts right through the bland starch.
Interesting. Binjai fruit.
Alongside that, you'll have various spicy sample sauces, maybe some other savory, potent dips. And critically, the dish is almost always served communally, in a big bowl in the center, often accompanied by side dishes like grilled fish and fresh vegetables or local greens.
So it forces conversation, interaction, shared activity around the table.
Precisely. It really reinforces that focus on family and social connection through food that we talked about earlier.
It all ties together. And since we're in a dry country, the creative non-alcoholic drink scene really has to step up to fill that void, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And the focus seems to be squarely on combating that constant heat and humidity. You find incredible, really refreshing fresh fruit juices everywhere. And we're not just talking standard orange or apple.
No, like what?
Think specialized mango varieties, Starfruit juice, cucumber coolers, lime variations. Really inventive stuff using local tropical fruits.
Sounds delicious. But the undisputed king of drinks has to be teteric, right? The pulled milk tea.
Oh, absolutely. Omnipresent. The sources mention just watching the preparation is part of the experience, seeing the vendors pouring the hot black tea mixed with condensed milk back and forth between two containers, often from a great height.
That's the pulling part.
Exactly. It cools the tea down just enough to drink, but also creates that distinctive, thick, frothy foam on top. It's sweet, it's robust, it's everywhere. A real comfort drink.
I think my personal favorite from the descriptions, though, has to be the kopi susu, especially iced.
Ah, yes, the ultimate humidity antidote, as one source called it. It's that really thick, intensely sweet local coffee, usually brewed strong, traditionally, then mixed with, frankly, copious amounts of condensed milk,
Gotta love condensed milk coffee.
and then poured over a glass, packed solid with ice. It's just this powerful, invigorating hit of caffeine and sugar, exactly what you need to push through a hot, sticky afternoon.
So the takeaway from this whole food section seems crystal clear. The food scene isn't just good enough, it's actually a major reason to visit Brunei.
I'd agree with that. It's cheap, it's authentic, it's culturally central, and it seems really easily accessible, especially through that night market. It really provides that much-needed window into local social life when other avenues aren't there.
Okay, so moving from the stomach to the spectacle. Let's talk about the main attractions and activities. Brunei seems fundamentally split here, doesn't it? Between this immense architectural opulence that really demonstrates the nation's wealth,
Unmistakably so.
and then the experience of exploring one of the world's most pristine, almost primal rainforests.
That's a great summary. Let's start with the architecture. We absolutely have to begin with the mosques. They are the architectural crown jewels that completely define the capital's skyline. The first essential visit has to be the Omar Ali Seyfuddin Mosque.
Often cited as one of the most beautiful in the entire Asia-Pacific region, right?
It really is. Its location is stunning, right at the center of BSB, built on its own artificial lagoon. The materials are top-notch. Gleaming white Italian marble everywhere, magnificent domes covered in pure gold leaf.
Wow, pure gold.
And that beautiful ceremonial stone boat that floats in the lagoon in front of it. It's modeled after a 16th century royal barge, apparently. The whole thing is just a stunning vision.
It really does look like something pulled straight out of a fairy tale or an old painting. It's an aesthetic masterpiece, isn't it? Combining that classic Islamic architecture with high-end Italian materials, it provides such a strong visual anchor for the whole city.
Definitely. And then there's the second grand mosque, the Jamizaz Hassan al-Bolkiah Mosque. Now, this one was built much more recently to commemorate the current sultan's 25th year on the throne. And it's built on an even grander, more sprawling scale.
Bigger than the first one.
In terms of sheer footprint and complexity, yes. The sheer wealth of the nation is just undeniable when you see this place. The structure features 29 golden domes.
29? Is there significance to that number?
Yes, apparently it's a specific architectural feature symbolizing the current sultan, Hassan al-Bolkiah, as the 29th ruler in his dynasty.
Ah, okay. Symbolic details.
Absolutely. Inside, there are these seemingly endless hallways lined with intricate tilework, vast, high-ceilinged prayer halls. Just walking the perimeter, which takes quite a while, gives you this really tangible sense of the immense economic resources the nation has and how they're dedicated to cultural and religious expression.
It's opulence on a massive scale.
It is. But it's also important to reinforce the need for cultural respect when visiting these mosques. They are active places of worship.
Absolutely. Modest dress is key.
Always. Visitors must dress modestly, shoulders and knees covered for both men and women will likely need to cover their hair. While they do graciously provide robes and headscarves at the entrance if your attire isn't quite right.
It's better to arrive prepared and show respect.
Exactly. And visits are strictly permitted only outside of the designated prayer times. You can't just wander in whenever. But the sources all consistently noted that once you are inside, during visiting hours, there's this palpable, profound sense of quiet serenity. They feel very peaceful.
Okay, so from the golden marble grandeur, let's shift gears completely. Let's talk about the wooden world of Kampong Air, the water village.
Yes, this is such a fascinating contrast. It's a living, breathing cultural treasure. It often gets labeled the Venice of the East, which, okay, maybe gives you a visual cue.
But it's not really like Venice, is it?
Not really. It's a unique, modern, self-sustaining community. It's officially recognized as the world's largest settlement, built entirely on stilts. Tens of thousands of people live there.
Tens of thousands, wow.
And everything is built on stilts over the Brunei River Entire neighborhoods with houses, schools, fire stations, mosques, shops, all connected by wooden walkways.
So how do you actually visit? How do you get around?
The practical experience sounds quite exhilarating, actually. You simply stand on the riverbank in BSB and flag down one of the small, fast, wooden speedboats. These are the water taxis.
Like hailing a cab, but on the water.
Exactly. And it's apparently very cheap for a quick trip across the river into the village proper. Or a better way might be to hire one of the drivers for maybe half an hour or an hour for a more comprehensive cruise through the complex, labyrinthine network of wooden walkways and channels.
That sounds like the way to do it. Get a real feel for the place.
Definitely. Cruising those waterways gives you this incredibly intimate glimpse into daily Bruneian life, but a side that feels completely removed from the oil wealth opulence you see in central BSB. You see families relaxing on their porches, kids in uniforms, walking along the boardwalks to their stilt-based schools.
Real life happening on the water.
And the sources repeatedly praise the genuine hospitality of the residents. Many travelers reported getting spontaneous invitations into homes for tea and local cakes, just unexpected moments of truly authentic connection.
That sounds amazing. It feels like visiting a dynamic, functioning city that just happens to be built entirely on wood, with this incredibly long history stretching back over 600 years.
It really does.
Okay.
But now let's pivot again, from the water village to the deep jungle. Let's talk about the natural attraction that our sources pretty much unanimously agreed makes the trip to Brunei absolutely worthwhile. Ulu Temburong National Park.
This is the big one for nature lovers, isn't it? Brunei's pristine, natural crown jewel.
Absolutely. It's essentially untouched primary Borneo rainforest, and it's protected fiercely by the Sultanate. The wealth that might seem ostentatious in the city is partly what allows them to preserve this incredible ecosystem.
And getting there isn't just a quick drive, right? The journey itself is part of the experience.
Oh, very much so. It's a significant multi-stage adventure that really heightens the sense of immersion, of leaving the modern world behind.
How does it start?
It begins with a public speedboat journey from BSB. The sources detailed this exhilarating high-speed trip, weaving through this intricate maze of mangrove forests that line the coast and river estuaries. It feels less like commuting and more like a high-speed river safari, just to get started.
Sounds fun. Then what?
After the speedboat, there's a transfer to a van for a short overland stretch. And then comes the really indigenous part of the experience, transferring to a traditional wooden longboat, known locally as a timoai.
A longboat, like the ones you see in pictures of Borneo explorers.
Pretty much. And navigating these requires an incredibly skilled local driver. They have to maneuver the longboat up these often shallow, rocky, and winding upper rivers to reach the park entrance. The sources mention the sound of the engine straining as you slip past river stones. It immediately transports you. You feel like you're heading into a really remote, wild environment.
That sense of remoteness is the reward, I guess. And once you're in the park, what's the absolute highlight?
The climax of the entire park experience, for most people, is the canopy walkway.
Ah, the famous walkway. What's it like?
It's described as this massive, multi-tiered metal structure, a series of towers connected by walkways that reaches far, far above the tops of the tallest rainforest trees.
So you're literally walking above the jungle canopy.
Exactly. The sources did note that while it's perfectly sturdy and safe, the sheer height, we're talking maybe 40 or 50 meters up, and the slight natural sway in the structure can make it feel a little dizzying, a bit wobbly for some.
I can imagine. But the view must be incredible.
The view is the payoff, especially if you can time your visit for sunrise, which usually means staying overnight at the nearby Ulu Ulu resort or starting very early. The site is apparently utterly breathtaking.
Describe it.
Just picture an endless, undulating sea of green stretching out in every direction. Mist rising softly from the canopy layer below you as the sun comes up. You get this profound sense of isolation, of the immense scale of the rainforest, feeling like you have the whole jungle to yourself.
Wow. That sounds worth the wobbly walk.
Definitely. And from that high vantage point, the sources noted you really appreciate the incredibly diverse, protected ecosystem. You might not always see big mammals, they're shy, but the park is teeming with unique Borneo plant life. You might see hornbills or eagles flying below you, and you hear the constant immersive hum of insects and birdsong.
It sounds like a powerful demonstration that Brunei's wealth isn't just spent on gold domes, it's also actively used to protect this critical natural habitat.
Precisely. Ulu Temburong is usually a full-day commitment, maybe even an overnight trip. But that unique combination of adventure travel and pristine nature seems to be the defining, lasting memory for most visitors who make the effort.
Okay, that gives us a really full picture of the key sites and activities. Let's maybe transition now into the more critical appraisal. What expectations need managing, and what are the really crucial cultural awareness points visitors need to keep in mind?
Yeah, this is important. The primary reality, the one we have to address again, is the quietness. We've established the lack of alcohol, and the direct consequence of that is zero nightlife. Just none.
The capital, BSB, is described consistently by sources as very, very quiet, isn't it? Often shutting down almost completely by 9 p.m.
Pretty much. Shops close, restaurants wind down, the streets become very empty.
So this means, let's be blunt, if you are the type of traveler who needs or just enjoys late-night stimulation bars, live music, clubs, even just a buzzing street scene or a raucous backpacker social vibe,
Yeah,
you are likely going to find Brunei profoundly dull in the evenings.
you will. It's absolutely essential to acknowledge this up front and perhaps reframe the experience before you even go. This isn't the place for parties. It's a place for maybe quiet reflection, reading a book, enjoying a peaceful dinner, having early nights, and consequently, early mornings to beat the heat.
Adjust your expectations accordingly. Beyond the quiet nightlife, or lack thereof, the cultural sensitivities must be understood as paramount, right?
Absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Brunei is fundamentally a deeply conservative nation. Its culture and laws are rooted in strong Islamic religious norms and traditions.
And this manifests in everyday expectations for behavior.
Yes. Simple things like public displays of affection holding hands is probably okay, but anything more demonstrative like kissing or hugging in public is considered completely inappropriate and should be avoided.
And dress code.
Modest dress is expected pretty much everywhere, especially when you venture away from clearly designated tourist areas like your hotel pool. For both men and women, this generally means keeping shoulders and knees covered. Longer shorts might be okay for men in some casual settings, but err on the side of caution. Women should avoid sleeveless tops, short skirts, or anything too revealing.
And we should probably touch on the legal structure just for awareness. Brunei operates under Sharia law alongside its civil code.
Yes. Now, for tourists, the rules that typically apply generally align with basic common sense and the laws you'd expect anywhere. Don't do drugs, don't steal, avoid causing public disturbances. Tourists aren't usually the direct focus of the stricter aspects of Sharia law unless they commit serious crimes. However, its presence absolutely reinforces the overall conservative atmosphere of the country.
So things like dress codes might be more noticeably enforced, even in places like public shopping malls compared to neighboring countries?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where shorts and sleeveless tops might be completely normal elsewhere in Southeast Asia, in Brunei, you might get politely reminded to cover up, even in a mall. It's just part of the local custom.
Which really translates into needing a heightened sense of respect for local customs overall when visiting any public space, but maybe especially on Fridays, which is the holiest day of the week when things might be quieter or close for prayer.
You just need to be mindful, ensure you're dressed respectfully, behave calmly. It's not about jumping through hoops. It's fundamentally an issue of being a good guest, showing basic politeness and respect for the host culture, not just about tourism compliance.
Well put. Okay, shifting to practical tips and maybe potential skips to save time. If you're on a shorter trip, say just a stopover for a couple of days, the sources suggested that the Royal Regalia Museum could potentially be deprioritized or maybe just covered quite quickly.
Yeah, that came up. The museum, while apparently quite interesting initially, it showcases the Sultan's incredible collection of gifts received from other world leaders, state medals, ceremonial objects. And the centerpiece is this incredible full-scale replica of his coronation chariot.
Sounds impressive.
It is, visually.
Right.
But several sources describe the overall experience inside as feeling a bit static. It focuses very heavily on these static displays of pomp, circumstance, and collected items behind glass.
So interesting for a quick look, but maybe not hours of engagement.
Right, you can probably capture the essence, appreciate the scale of the gifts and the chariots in maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and then move on to something more dynamic.
And that saved time is probably better spent either diving a bit deeper into Kampong Air, maybe hiring that water taxi for a longer, more exploratory tour, or, crucially, honoring that afternoon break rule we keep mentioning. We really cannot overstress the impact of the heat and humidity.
No, seriously. Plan that swim, plan that nap in the air conditioning, or plan that mid-afternoon iced kopi susu break in a cool cafe. Trying to do serious, active sightseeing outdoors between roughly 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. is just a recipe for exhaustion and probably heat stroke. Pace yourself.
Okay, let's try and synthesize all of this now into an overall feeling, a vibe for Brunei. If we had to capture the essence beyond the gold domes and the deep jungle, what's that recurring atmosphere the sources described?
I think the phrase you used earlier, gentle predictability, really captures it well.
Gentle predictability,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's just no hustle, no chaos, none of that edge you sometimes feel in other big cities. It's serene. The infrastructure is immaculate roads, public spaces, they're spotless. Crime is incredibly low, almost negligible for tourists, and things just seem to run exactly on time.
And this predictability, it's not necessarily boring, is it? It can be a luxury.
Exactly. For many experienced travelers, maybe those feeling a bit burned out by the typical Southeast Asian crush and sensory overload, this sheer orderliness actually creates a profoundly calming, safe, and genuinely welcoming atmosphere.
There's also a sense of high civic pride, isn't there? Evident in how clean the streets are, the lack of litter, the well-maintained public facilities. It suggests perhaps a generally stable and maybe quite content society.
That's the impression it gives. Now, addressing that boring tag one last time.
Yeah, let's tackle it head on.
If you define travel success purely by constant, high-octane stimulation, late nights, and a buzzing social scene, then yes, you probably will find Brunei boring.
Okay.
But if you're willing or even eager to reframe the experience, see the quiet not as a lack, but as a presence, then it becomes peaceful. It becomes a place that almost mandates deceleration. It forces you to slow down, to actually observe the nuances of local life, to engage in quieter, perhaps more meaningful cultural immersion rather than just ticking off sites.
So it could serve as the perfect soft landing into Asia for a first-timer. Or maybe a tranquil, really safe stopover between more hectic destinations, providing that unique contrast to the intense energy of neighbors like Malaysia or Indonesia.
I think that's exactly its niche, a peaceful interlude.
All right, final analysis time. Crunch time. Is Brunei actually worth the journey? I think I'm still maintaining my conditional yes, but maybe my conditions are even stronger now based on the depth of those specific cultural and nature experiences we've discussed.
I think I agree. It's not for everyone, but for the right person. Let's outline who that ideal visitor profile might be.
Okay. For me, it's a resounding yes for the curious, culturally minded traveler.
Yeah.
Someone who specifically wants to see magnificent, world-class Islamic architecture and who wants to access truly pristine, protected Borneo rainforests without the huge crowds you might find elsewhere. Ulu Temerong alone could justify the flight for that person.
Great, big draw.
It's also an emphatic YES for families, or perhaps more nervous solo travelers, who place an extremely high premium on safety, order, cleanliness, and immaculate infrastructure. The lack of hassle is a huge plus.
Couldn't agree more on the safety aspect. And the firm knows who should probably give Brunei a miss.
Well, definitely NO if you're traveling solely on a really tight shoestring budget. While the food is cheap, accommodation and activities generally make it significantly more expensive than backpacking through, say, Thailand, Vietnam, or even parts of Malaysia or Indonesia.
Good point. It's not a super budget destination overall.
And an absolutely definite NO if your primary travel goal is finding nightlife, bars, late-night entertainment, parties, or that kind of spontaneous social backpacker scene. It simply does not exist here. You'll be deeply disappointed if that's what you're looking for.
My verdict, I'm leaning towards a more wholehearted yes, actually.
Oh, interesting. Why more wholehearted?
Because I think that peacefulness, that quiet predictability, it's not a bug. It's the core feature. It's what makes Brunei unique. For me, the lasting memories highlighted in the sources, the authentic, smoky, delicious food at the night market, the unexpected kindness and hospitality reported in Kampong Air, and that image of absolute profound silence experienced high above the rainforest canopy at sunrise that paints a picture of a profoundly unique and quite special corner of the world.
Okay, fair point. The quietude as a feature, not a flaw. So, wrapping up, Brunei is clearly not the destination for high-octane thrills or wild parties, but it is deeply rich in specific cultural experiences, stunning natural beauty, and this unique, almost mandated sense of peace. It really is a place that genuinely invites you, maybe even forces you to slow down and simply be.
And that sense of mandated tranquility, that leads us directly to our final provocative thought for you, the listener, to maybe mull over as you process this deep dive. Given that Brunei's social life seems to revolve so entirely around food, family gatherings, and these sort of controlled public spaces like malls, largely because the dry culture removes those traditional, potentially more chaotic or raucous public gathering spots like bars and pubs, it raises a really powerful sociological question, doesn't it?
Where are you going with this?
Well, if that collective social energy, that creative friction that often happens in bars, cafes, clubs late at night,
Hmm.
if that's not spent in those traditional public spaces, where does that energy actually go in Bruneian society?
We saw evidence of it going into high civic pride, the immaculate infrastructure, maybe strong family focus.
Exactly. Does mandated tranquility primarily deepen those family and community bonds, maybe resulting in a generally more content-stable society? Or could it potentially subtly stifle certain kinds of unconventional artistic expression, or perhaps the sort of civic innovation and debate that often germinates in the slightly freer, messier, more chaotic environments of traditional public gathering spots?
That's a fascinating question. Does the absence of readily available, slightly unruly public social spaces fundamentally refocus the societal conversation, for better or worse?
It's a profound question, I think, about how a society manages its collective energy, its creativity, its dissent even, when certain common outlets are effectively removed from the equation. Does peace come at the cost of dynamism, or does it foster a different, perhaps deeper kind of connection?
It's something interesting to consider as you contemplate your own potential travels to the abode of peace. We certainly hope this deep dive into the Sultanate of Brunei has been informative, maybe sparked your curiosity, and perhaps helped you decide if this quiet, orderly, and undeniably unique corner of Borneo belongs on your travel itinerary. Until next time, keep exploring.